Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m. here in Toronto. I have Scott today on the show. We're going to talk today about very, very important topic about cybersecurity for senior, basically for our parents. I don't think I'm a senior yet. I hope so not. And this is day 4. We have a lot of go this month to talk about cybersecurity awareness month and many, many other guests. Scott, can you please tell us about yourself first?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, great to see you, and thanks for having me on. I focus on keeping a company going forward, developing wireless threat detection tools. Most of it's used for cyber agencies. A lot of US DoD agencies use our tools, but also Fortune 500 companies, universities, anywhere where there's a wireless threat, they use our tools to keep it out, be it cell phones, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, you name it. And then I do a fair amount of education in the world of cybersecurity, sharing best practices just to keep people safe, and look forward to chatting with you a little bit today.
But you not only this, you also an author on amazing book. I have a copy. I'm very happy about having a copy. I'm still waiting for my parents to read it.
Oh.
But we'll get there. So we'll talk today about the book, but we're not going to just promote the book. We're going to actually explain and give some ideas for people that are using the internet, and pretty much everyone using the internet right now on the mobile phones, on tablets, on computers, and what they can do better to promote them, to be more safe. And we're going to focus less on the younger folks. It's actually a good idea to do a show about younger folks as well, and more about the senior people.
Yeah,
so tell me about the idea of the book, why the idea even started, and what happened later on.
Yeah. Well, again, I tend to talk to audiences at different shows, and I'm at RSA and Black Hat and DEF CON. These are individuals deeply rooted into cybersecurity. But what I found is I was getting calls from my parents, my aged grandfather at the time, asking, help me, I can't find my password, I can't access this on the internet, I'm trying to stream something, I can't access my stock portfolio, whatever the case may be. So every weekend, I'm trying to help them, and I'm saying, man, this is frustrating. They're having trouble remembering the very basic things, and they keep falling victim to different scams and other problems. There's got to be a good book out there. There's got to be a video. So I started searching. I looked and I bought a book and read through it, and I'm like, it talks down to somebody that's senior. It had a lot of tech jargon in it, hard to read. The print was real small. It was just overly complicated. I couldn't find anything. So finally I said, you know what? That was my aha moment. I said, somebody needs to write a book that deals specifically with seniors dealing with cybersecurity. And I said, that's it. I'm going to just do it. So that's what I started the journey. I partnered with my brother, Craig. He's also in the business, and he's a talented video producer, writer on the creative side. So together we worked, and we started interviewing those that were older and going to senior homes, talking to relatives, anybody that we could get a little tidbit of information. What was their frustration with getting online, trying to remember passwords, being fearful of scammers, using technology. So the book really covers a very wide swath, but it's hopefully going to be something that empowers seniors so they don't feel they don't understand technology or they can't do it, but rather they can do it and hopefully relate to them through different things as they grew up through different generation. So they feel part of the technology boom that we're in now, and they're not afraid of these cyber criminals, and they can fight back. And that was what the hope and the intent of the book was. And I was purposeful. In fact, I had to go against everybody's word, and I said, I'm going to make it a larger font than any other book. Everybody said, no, that's a mistake. It's a mistake. Don't do it. And I said, I have to. I said, it will help people that are a little older so they could read, relax, and make it a light read that's hopefully enjoyable.
So we're going to dive into examples right away. Before that, if people that are watching right now, you're more than welcome to ask questions. And if you're just joining right now, don't worry, it's recorded. It will be on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube as well. So you can rewatch later on to see some information. And maybe later on, we can also post a link to the book itself. I'll see if I can find one, or if you have one, we can do it as well. But let's dive into examples. So when you were interviewing people, so you're doing your market research. Let's give examples of the struggle, and let's see if this is something that people watching the show right now feel as well.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things in doing the research that seemed to come up more than ever was all about passwords. And we're probably all sick of passwords. I know I am. I talk about them all the time at different shows. until my eyes are sometimes bleeding. I'm talking about make sure it's a long, strong password that doesn't have anything to do with you. That's not a common word found in the dictionary, so on and so forth. But it wasn't just creating a strong password. I think somebody that's a little bit senior understands the validity of that. It's how to remember a password. So I dive in and I talk about some different strategies, how you can remember a password other than writing it down on a sticky note, which everybody likes to do and put on their computer. And I actually provide, if anybody wants one, they could feel free to send me an email or direct message me on social media, and I'll mail them one. I created a little simple password book. And again, many cybersecurity experts instantly say, Scott, you can't write down your passwords. That's a no-no. But if you're somebody that's older and you carefully write it down and you employ layers of security. So in other words, you take your security password book and you lock it in a little home safe, in a locked office, alarms, so on and so forth. Those layers of security do protect it.
So it's a password management in a different way.
Simple password management. If you're trying to manage 10 to maybe 15 passwords, it's beautiful. That really works. If you have more passwords than that and you're a senior, then you should look at a good password manager. I use Dashlane. That works really well. So you have to remember that one long, strong password to have access to the vault with all the passwords that, again, are encrypted and protected and safe. So you have to find balance. Ask yourself that first question. What are you trying to protect? What accounts that you access, so on and so forth? And how many passwords do you have? And that allows you then to pick what's the best strategy to manage those passwords.
So before we go to more examples, I'm wondering, in our community, we always push MFA. So multi-factor authentication, not just the password, use something else. It's a text message, SMS, something on your phone. For the senior people, is this a good way to go, or it's become too complicated, or maybe not everybody have a smartphone, or there's a better way to do it?
No, I think it is something that's important to use. I always try to contrast it this way. If you just use your traditional login credentials to a site, say you're going onto Facebook, and you just simply type in your username, Scott Schober, your password, 123, whatever, someone's unsecure, that's not safe at all. But if you have that additional layer, it only takes a little bit more time. And when I say a little bit more time, less than a minute. That's not that much of your time, but you're trading basically convenience for security. So it's important to make those decisions. And it's not just for logging onto Facebook, but if you do online banking, if you check your stock portfolio. So once you do it on one account, you realize it's not that difficult to start using multi-factor authentication. So I encourage people to do it. It's built into just about every platform now. And if it's not, ask about it or move to another platform, because you want to have that extra layer of security to keep secure. Very important. And it doesn't, again, have to be an SMS text passcode to your phone. It could be something through email. It could be something where, excuse me, the phone rings and you get a password over that, a landline phone. So there are other ways to actually use multi-factor authentication, but doing it is 100 times more secure than not doing it. And that's really the point.
Let's dive into another example about scamming, or sometimes people send password resets over the email. So I have my theory. I don't ever click links in my email. If I need to reset the password, I'll always go to the source and do it there. What's your recommendation and what's in the book?
No, and it's brilliant. And I talk about that a lot. The things that are found in emails, you almost have to take the stance. Don't trust anything that you receive in an email. If there's any type of attachment, click here, especially, and I talk a lot about this, if there's a sense of urgency, if it looks convincing, if it looks too good to be true, those type of things fool people, especially older people, to click on it and it'll redirect or a reset for something. Don't do it. Go right to the source. In other words, go right to the top of the browser and type it in if you want to go to a specific site. So just balancing and use caution. But if you're still unsure, don't click. Instead, phone a friend. Everybody has someone they know, and pretty much everybody older that I talk to, they say, yeah, oh, my grandson Johnny, he's taking computer classes at school. He really knows the internet. Well, then call Johnny. If you're not sure, stop. Wait and call Johnny. Don't feel the pressure of the email or the phone scam or anything else. Call and phone a friend. just to bounce it off them and forward them the email just so they can investigate it, and you'll be a lot safer.
Just kind of make sure, don't call me, don't call Scott, please, okay?
No, I don't mind phone calls. I get them all the time, everywhere, everything from, hey, I just had a ransomware attack. What do I do? Yesterday, I had somebody, a close friend, and they said, hey, I have a sister that was just the victim of identity theft. What are some good proactive steps that I can take? Can you introduce me to somebody? And in this case, sure, I understand steps and good things that you should do. But I said, here's somebody that's actually expert in the area that you could talk to. So sometimes it's not always giving the immediate answer, but connecting other people with other experts. That's really what this industry is about. And I think everybody in cyber, like yourself, it's not just the knowledge we have, but the ability to share information, tips, and connect you to other people. That's really powerful to fight cybercrime.
You're absolutely right. And I'm kind of joking about not calling us. It's sometimes people think if you're in cybersecurity and you also can install or reinstall the laptops and do all this. I think there's a big difference between helping people, recommending people, guiding people versus going and reinstalling a software. They're just a bit different, but you're absolutely right. It's the connection, it's the education, and to giving back to community as well. And you mentioned ransomware, so we're going to dive in there as well.
Sure.
So we have passwords. We have password resets are very important. But unfortunately, sometimes people click on certain links. They don't understand what's happening with their laptop. What is your recommendation for senior people, or maybe a protection, a software protection, or what happened if they click on something and they have a ransomware or their device? I'll just add one part here, that in majority of the cases, my laptop is almost like a dummy device. There's nothing there. Everything is pretty much in the cloud. So I know I can put it in the garbage, get a new one. But if I had ransomware, God forbid, then potentially my cloud will be encrypted as well. But again, we don't want to go too deep right now. So let's kind of focus on day-by-day protection of browsing, and God forbid something happens with your device.
Yeah. Well, I like to start out, even before jumping into that, make sure they do what I call the basics. Have a backup. And it could be something as simple as taking a secure USB stick, putting into their laptop, and taking their files on that stick. And I use a stick where there's a code that you enter that unlocks it. Simple code, unlock it. It's stored on the USB stick, and it's encrypted. You could buy those for $40 these days on Amazon or anywhere else, a secure USB stick. Why? Because now you have a backup that you can hide somewhere, put it in your safe, or go to the bank in your safety deposit box. So all of your information that you have a backup for. Why?
And don't leave it in the laptop. Actually, remove it after you use it.
Exactly. Yeah, you must remove it and go lock it up remotely. And that way, and it's usually what's done in the industry is immutable. So that means you can't write over it, you can't modify it and alter it. Probably don't need to worry about that degree if it's just a senior backing up their laptop. But you want to remove that information, keep it on your USB stick that's secure, locked up, and take it out of your facility where you live. In case there's a fire, theft, anything else, you always can revert to your backup. Why is it so important in ransomware? Because sometimes there's things that happen where malicious code gets put onto your computer in the background. You don't know it. It may not be necessarily that you click on an attachment in an email. You shouldn't do that, especially if it's suspicious, which is almost how they deliver the payload there for ransomware. But you want to just try to think about what steps can I do to prevent it. Not visiting websites that you're not familiar with. So don't just go on Google and start searching different topics and things and clicking. Why? That is an invitation for a cyber criminal to get malware onto your computer, no matter what you do. So be very selective. Go to sites you trust. So if you know you buy certain items from Amazon and you trust Amazon, it's okay to shop on Amazon. I always look up to the top to make sure it does say HTTPS for secure. Maybe you see the little picture of the lock. If you're buying something in an online store, these are very basic best practices that you should use to minimize the chance for ransomware coming in. It is good to have good software to prevent viruses and malware from coming in. Probably stops about 20-something% of all the junk from coming in, which tells you about what? 80% of the junk is still coming in. So you want to have a good junk filter, and depending upon what email you're using, the filter is set to try to get rid of that and clean that junk out as quick as you can. Empty the trash, get rid of it. Doing basic housekeeping. Just like if you have bills come in and they're older, what do you want to do? You want to physically shred those after so much time. You don't want to keep clutter on your desktop or your computer or in your email, the more stuff you have, the harder it is to maintain down the road. And if there is a problem or a breach or a ransomware attack or anything, it makes it very, very difficult.
Nice. This is very, very good advice. And I kind of want to go back to passwords as well, because I think passwords are very, very important. And we didn't touch sticky notes. Okay, yeah. I'm home. Why would I not have a sticky note near my laptop if I'm home? Nobody get to home.
Yeah, a good question. Ask yourself, does anyone ever come into your house? And what do I mean by that? HVAC, repairman, oh, the plumber came by, oh, a cleaning service, so somebody dropped off food or laundry. Anybody that comes into your house that goes by your computer and just glances and sees, oh, password 123 is what Miss Smith has on her, and they put that in the back of their mind, and they joke around to a friend and say, could you believe it? Miss Smith has her password right on her computer, password 123. That's crazy. As I've traveled to different companies, I remember being at one studio and they had a credit card machine there, and they had right on top of it the password for a refund. So you could refund a card. So walking by, I looked at that and I had to take them aside. I said, I want you to know, seeing that, I said, I could easily take my credit card out of my pocket, slide it through your machine, type in that refund code and type in $1,000, and I'll get $1,000 back on my card. I said, don't keep that public information, lock that away. And they're like, oh, I never realized it. Sorry, it was just convenience because we always have to refund cards. So sometimes people don't think. So to your point, putting little sticky notes, it happens in every industry all the time. I saw the same thing on a radio station once. It was kind of laughing. They had all the access to different applications, sticky notes around their entire screen. And I'm sitting there and looking, I'm going, this is a show on security. And I said, and every single password is written right on your screen that I could see. And they're like, oh, but you're not going to do that. I need it there so I can remember it. I'm like, take it off your screen. I said, anybody walking by, and it was a glass office, so everybody walking by could just peer in and see it. It was kind of embarrassing.
And right now, with all the smartphones, with the Zoom cameras, I can just walk by, take a quick picture, don't even know about us.
Yeah, good.
I just want to let people know that we have much more coming in. We have a show tomorrow. We'll talk about overshare on the social media. And on Friday, we'll talk about how I get in and my friend Michael get into cybersecurity. You can find on the links here. And you can also subscribe to my two podcasts. One is Secure Tech Architecture podcast with Dimitri Reitman, and the second one is Cyber Inspiration, my show as well. But there's links there to the shows on tomorrow and Friday, and I'll later on put links for the next week as well. Okay, what else do you think it's important for senior cyber? Let's think about this. How about password sharing? Like, can I use the same password between sites? Or maybe can I use the same password that I share with my husband or with my wife or with somebody else?
Yeah, that's a great question. Password sharing, the latest stat I read in one report was about 54% of people throughout the United States reuse the same password across multiple login sites. That's a terrible statistic. I almost had a heart attack thinking, geez, for years, we've been talking about the dangers of resharing passwords, reusing passwords, and all these other things, but people are still doing it. Oftentimes, if you share a password to a friend, they think, what's the big deal? Oh, he shared the password with me. I guess it's okay to share it with someone else. And that's how it starts. It starts out innocent and seemingly innocent, and you share it with a colleague, a trusted friend, but maybe their friend you don't even know. Next thing you know, it gets out there and somebody else will actually try it. Now, if people reuse the same password across multiple login sites, eventually everybody's password gets compromised through a Yahoo breach, 3 billion plus passwords, through LinkedIn or some other means that you had that password. So if you reuse that somewhere else, guess what? Cyber criminals will buy those databases of all the compromised passwords, and they will try to log in on hundreds and hundreds of popular websites until they can get in. So we start to understand statistically the danger of reusing the same password. If my password was, big fat dog, and I use that across my Facebook account, but also my banking account and everything else, once that's compromised in a data breach, it's on the dark web that's sold. And people could buy that for pennies and try that on all these different sites. Let me go to every banking site and see if Big Fat Dog gets in for Scott's login. Oh, no, I got in. How did it happen? Because of the breaches.
This is something we discussed, I think, on the first show I spoke about this, and I'm wondering what's your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If a because there's some people say, why would I use password management? I put all the eggs in one basket. What if they get compromised? And it happened. And here's my view on this. If a password management get compromised, we probably will know about this very, very fast, because the entire internet we're going to screaming about this. Then I can need to change basically one password there, but not just one password. I'll have actually to go and change all the passwords that are there. Fair. It may take me half a day, because it could be 8, could be 200 passwords. Yeah. But at least I know where to change.
Yes.
But if I have 200 websites that using the same password, and some kind of website for auctions or for something else get compromised, I may don't know about it. But then they have the passwords for all the other 200 sites, and I don't even know it happened.
Yeah, yeah. And so it becomes time management. You want to log into 200 individual sites. Most of them you haven't been on in 6 months or a year. You forget about the site. So you're not going to go out there and actively change the passwords, to your point. I do an additional step, which I think is kind of cool. It's easy. It's a subscription service. It's not that much money per month, but a company called Cyberlytica. And what they do is simply, they crawl the dark web, the internet's underbelly, in case passwords are compromised in a data breach. And then what I'll do is get an actual instant alert that says, hey, Scott, there's a high probability in LinkedIn, your password was compromised on this date along with this many others. What does that do? Instant alert. I log into my LinkedIn account and I change my password before.
What's the name? We'll put here as well. Can you maybe put a link?
Yeah, you want the link on that? Sure.
Yeah, why not? We can put here on the show notes.
Do I do it under comments, I guess, here?
Yeah, just paste under comments.
Yeah. Just let me grab a keyboard here. Hold on. Let's see if I could do that there.
Let's see.
But that's the beauty of it. Being able to actually respond to something is kind of cool. It's not letting me enter in comments.
Okay.
I could spell it for you or enter it in afterwards if you want.
Cyber what?
Yeah, Cyberlytica. So just type the word cyber, Cyber, then LIT.
I think I found it. Let's see. So this is going to be Cyberlytica. I'm putting it here, and I'm going to use it as a banner as well. Just give me one second. This one.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's explain again what is the tool does for the people, and how does it use it.
They provide a service, and there are other companies. I think Experian does it, and a few others are now doing it. But they do this really good, and they've been doing this for years. They're crawling the dark web, looking to see if any of your...
I'll stop you for a second. Yeah, sure, I don't think... What's a dark web for the people that are senior and don't really understand? So let's maybe kind of dial back for a second.
Yeah, well, think of this from a surface level. That's where we all work. When we do a Google search, we're on the surface web. All the different websites are indexed and easy to find through a search. On the dark web, these are unique sites that you have to have a specific address that you can get to, so you could buy or sell things or visit web pages, whatever the case may be. Often there's an association with the dark web with bad things, drugs sold and all kinds of other illegal things, stolen passwords and social security numbers, credit cards, and all of that. And there is a lot of that bad stuff down there. Understanding that it's not all bad is important, but understanding that a lot of times our information, when it's compromised, gets put on this dark web, the internet's underbelly, I call it. And that's where it can be sold by cyber criminals to other criminals that want to compromise our identity, take credit out in our name, use our credit cards, whatever the case may be. And the information on the dark web is encrypted. It's using a special browser to have access to it. You might use Microsoft Explorer, Safari, whatever your browser is, Firefox. Think of it the same way. There's a Tor browser that allows you to access this dark web. So you don't do it from the traditional means on a computer to access the dark web. You have to use a special browser, and that is actually anonymized because it bounces IP traffic or makes it look that way so nobody could find your whereabouts. So it's often used by sinister people and cyber criminals where that information is housed, stored, and sold. A lot of illegal activities are done down there. So I'm trying to say it in a simplified way without digging into the techie side of things. But it's important to be able to see if your information is down there for sale, because if you know that your credit card suddenly is being sold on the dark web, you need to know that. Why? Because you can call your credit card company. Or if your password is compromised, you can immediately go on to that site where it's compromised and change your password. And that's the beauty of what's done with Cyberlytica is they help you through that process and alert you immediately before the damage is done. And that's really proactive.
There's multiple products there. So I was kind of checking right now. While you're talking, I think the one we want to go for individuals is consumers, because there's other products as well. So that everybody is watching, go to the website. But when you go click on the products, go to, it says consumers or not protection for individuals and families. And there's actually a YouTube video of this user as well. Nice.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good information that they have, and a big part of it too is also education they're giving you, and I think that's important. It's not just sell you something, go figure it out. You're getting assistance to understand what's going on, how to protect your password, and then they even have password managers. They have a password security check, so you could type in some different things to see how strong is this password, so you kind of get an understanding. Is password 123 secure? No, not at all. However, AB53, uppercase, lowercase, a big long, when you put it, you get a sense of how strong it is. There's a meter on there that you can use too. So a lot of good, useful cyber tools and tips that are shared on that site.
Great. Thank you very much. I think it's a very cool link. Hope people can check it out and use it for themselves as well. And will not actually find a lot of bad information about themselves. Great. Anything else you want to add?
I think it's really important for seniors to be very cautious in another area, and that's scams on the phone. I think it's not talked about as much as people admit. And if you talk to some seniors, they kind of put their head down and they say, well, yeah, I gave him this information. He sounded so nice. It sounded convincing. We have to realize and understand cyber criminals understand how seniors think. They've studied them in a sense, and they know that they're trusting. They know oftentimes they have a little bit more net worth because they're hard workers. They saved up money over time. We know that oftentimes they're more polite than the younger generation now. In other words, if you called your grandparents right now, more than likely your grandma or grandfather is going to pick up the phone and say hello. If I call my kids right now, they're going to go, oh, somebody called. They can text me. It's a different generation. So understanding that and appreciating it, cyber criminals will work their way in. In other words, if a cyber criminal is going to try to hack into somebody's smartphone, a kid's, they're going to do it through text messaging. If they're going to try to scam a senior, they're going to do it through traditional landline phone or even their smartphone, if they have a smartphone. Call them and sound convincing. And they're going to often spoof the number so it looks like the bank's number. And they may do something similar to this. They may say, hi, Mr. Smith, how you doing? This is John from the security department for your bank. There's been some fraudulent activity in your account. We need to identify some information to protect you, to make sure that cyber thieves don't take your money. Do you have one moment? And they're right away,
panicking,
fear, pressure, and they say, before you say anything, let me confirm, you live at, 135 Smith Road. Yes. Okay. And you're, 72 years old. Yes. Okay. I just need to confirm the last 4 digits of your bank account. Boom, boom, boom. They start to socially engineer them, give them some information to build up the trust. They see the phone number. If they go on the web real quick and look at Bank of America, oh, wait, 1-800, that's the same number. It must be Bank of America calling me. Okay, this guy is real. He's a fraud department. He's helping. He knows where I live. He knows my age. He gave me information. Those are often tells to say, hey, there's a problem here. So what I encourage seniors to do with these type of phone scams is stop for a moment and say, this is a very important call. In case something happens and we get disconnected, can I get your name and can I get your phone number? What typically happens? Click, if it's a scammer, right? But if it's somebody that's really from the bank, they'll probably say, oh, yeah, my name is John Smith. My number is 1-800, Here's my email.
Good advice. Like
some
very
balance.
Simple, very simple.
Don't be afraid to put them on the defense and provide some information and justify who they're. If they knocked on your door and say, can I come in and check your washer to make sure it's okay? Most seniors are going to go, whoa, 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 whoa. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Maytag. See my back. They're going to want to see credentials. Let me see your license. Let me see this, right? That's physical. The same thing should be done on the phone. Prove who you are. before the conversation goes any further. Or say, I'm in the middle of something, I have to call you back. Let me get your name and number again. You jot that down. Now phone a friend, have them check that phone number and see if it's legitimate or call, and then just see that if it's real. So little tricks and tips like that I share throughout the book, Senior Cyber, to empower seniors so they don't have to be afraid and they don't divulge too much information too soon that could be used against them.
Great. Scott, amazing advice today. Thank you very much. Again, this is recorded so people can come and rewatch. I like your tips. I like your advices. I hope people find it valuable for them as well and get your book as well. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you again. Thanks for all you do too.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Stay safe.